The Xbox Games Showcase is being held on June 11th this year, with a special Forza Monthly shortly after on the 13th. We now know that we'll be getting an up-close look at the cars during the showcase, and a full walkthrough of the single-player career during the Forza Monthly. And I think it's a good bet that we could see a release date, as well as a steady increase in information over the coming months. So I feel like it's time to answer, for me anyway, what Motorsport is going to need to succeed in the current racing sim market. Now, since the series is dropping the number and attempting a bit of a rebrand and re-establishment of the Motorsport name, I feel it's important to look back at how Motorsport began. The first game released in 2005 to a world already full of racing sims. Gran Turismo was on its fourth installment already, Richard Burns Rally had released a year prior, Live for Speed would have a major release in the same year, and R Factor also released in 2005. But during this time, serious PC sims were extremely niche, and on Xbox, outside of smaller budget releases like PGR and Toka, there wasn't a lot for Motorsport to compete with. Motorsport was designed from the start to go up against Gran Turismo as the Xbox answer to Sony's flagship simulator. And instead of focusing on providing the most realistic physics possible, Turn 10 wanted to make sure the game was enjoyable for casual players. Dan Greenewalt, Turn 10's founder, is quoted as saying that the game was originally an excellent simulator, but not as fun as a game. So the team worked to make the physics more accessible and more handleable. And this is what helped to define what we now consider the console sim, a racing simulator that takes itself seriously and has near realistic physics, while also being polished, a bit simplified, and more accessible, rounding off the hard edges you often expect in serious PC sims. Many of these have come and gone, but Gran Turismo and Forza Motorsport have remained the two flagship console sims throughout the years. Now, to many, Motorsport peaked with its fourth release in 2011, with subsequent releases not doing enough to evolve and stand out, and increasingly, Motorsport fell into the backdrop of the sim racing market, as PC sims spiked in popularity and became more and more accessible and realistic. Motorsport 7 released on PC, but was up against already well-established simulators like iRacing and Assetto Corsa, which had much better online functionality, more realistic physics, better force feedback on wheels, and in many cases, better post-launch or mod support. So Motorsport 7 mainly survived on console, with most PC players quickly returning to the more serious and more established simulators. The new Motorsport will be up against even greater challenges. Assetto Corsa has skyrocketed in popularity over the past few years, iRacing and R Factor 2 continue to hold a very strong share of players, and Dirt Rally 2.0 dominates the modern rally sim market. The competition may be lighter over on the console side, but in today's gaming world, that won't be enough to keep Motorsport in the spotlight for long. Let's start here with the new Motorsport by talking about its single-player career. We're going to be getting some info on this soon, so I feel it's relevant to talk about what my expectations are here. And luckily, I think this is a spot where Motorsport can really shine. PC sims tend to not focus much on the campaign, or not even have one at all, and admittedly, Gran Turismo 7 really dropped the ball here too, trading out the more traditional campaign experience for a side quest style menu card car collecting system. Motorsport seems to be putting its campaign first, with what they say is an all-new, car-building-focused single-player career. This isn't a lot to go on, but I'm assuming car-building-focused implies a system similar to older Gran Turismo or Motorsport games, where you start in low classes, compete in low-intensity championships, and then use those winnings to upgrade and buy new cars so that you can compete in higher class racing. I'm not expecting a heavy character focus like you might see in Grid Legends, but I am hoping for a strong progression system with meaningful upgrades and purchases. It can be hard to keep interest high in closed track racing campaigns where repetition will start to set in later in the campaign, so having meaningful progression is a key element of keeping that carrot on a stick worth working towards. Aside from this, I would love to see some management elements to break up the back-to-back racing. Perhaps this involves some form of team management like you see in a lot of Codemasters games, or maybe it's focused on improving your facilities to unlock new car upgrades, or even signing on other drivers to race for you and earn passive income. These are systems we haven't really seen in motorsport in the past, so I'm not necessarily expecting much here, but now is the time to reinvent the campaign, and I think some extra layers on top of the racing would really help to set motorsport apart in the career department. Another element to this is going to be the AI, or NPC drivers, which is a system that has grown stagnant in Forza. Codemasters has tried some interesting things with this, adding a nemesis system and trying to inject more randomness into the single-player racing, and GT7 is working on the pretty incredible Sophie AI. Forza has the Drivatar system, but it really hasn't been touched in ages and desperately needs a refresh. Good racing needs good opponents, and stiff AI that just follows the in-game racing line isn't fun to race against. So I really hope that they touch on AI improvements during the career gameplay showcase on the 13th. Now, although I've got some high hopes and expectations for the single player in the new motorsport, admittedly, career isn't what often matters most to serious racing sim players. One element that does always come up as being key in a successful sim is the physics. And this is another area that I think motorsport could really deliver on. Now, right off the bat, I'm not expecting the most realistic simulation physics here. And I don't think Turn 10 is shooting for that either. They have talked about their improved simulation fidelity, more realistic handling of track conditions, pit strategy, and even better crash physics, which is all good to hear, but I believe they're still aiming for that rounded edges physics approach, like what you see in Gran Turismo. And I think that's fine. I do think GT7 nails this, especially now with a few physics patches. The GT7 handling and wheel feel and general racing feel is near perfect to me. I feel very connected to the car and have enough realism during the race to satisfy that sim racing itch. For a console sim like this, to me, realism comes second only to handling feel, and I think Forza has made some significant strides in that department. Forza Horizon 5 has nailed the more simcade handling model, making cars feel grounded in reality, while also being extremely fun to drive, and almost making you feel like a superhero driver without making it feel too unrealistic or arcadey. The cars just kind of drive how you wish cars would drive in real life. They've also made major improvements to how racing wheels feel, and although it's funny to say, Horizon 5 feels better on a wheel than Motorsport 7 did. And I think these sim-rig improvements will really shine when they're put into a more sim-focused handling model that we'll get from Motorsport. So I'm expecting a physics model that just feels good. For me, it doesn't need to match the gritty, unforgiving realism of iRacing or Assetto Corsa, but it should get 90% there, and still satisfy serious sim racers while remaining accessible to a wider audience. I am fairly confident that Motorsport can deliver a good experience in a sim rig and physics that will satisfy that wide range of players, and a strong enough campaign. But now let's talk about some areas I am a bit more nervous about, starting with VR support. This is, unfortunately, an area that I don't have many high hopes for, and that could spell bad news for the game, especially in the future, as VR is only getting more popular in the sim racing scene. Assetto Corsa, iRacing, R-Factor 2, Dirt Rally 2, and even now Gran Turismo 7 all support VR headsets and offer an incredibly immersive racing experience. However, there is no VR headset compatible with Xbox, and giving PC players a potentially unfair advantage might rub console players the wrong way. It might not even seem to make business sense to spend dev time on VR functionality, considering that only about 2% of Steam users own a VR headset. So, I get it. It might seem like it's not worth the effort, but if Motorsport releases without VR support, like I expect it to, it will immediately put the game technically behind just about every other major racing sim on the market. So it might not need VR support to compete in today's market, but what it is going to need to be taken seriously in the PC space is proper triple screen and ultra-wide support. This is an area that Motorsport 7 was really lacking in, offering essentially no official support for triple screens or even better field of view on ultrawides. These days, ultrawides and triples are practically standard in the sim racing world, and anyone who takes sim racing seriously focuses heavily on dialing in and maximizing their field of view. This, to me as someone who uses a 32:9 monitor, is something that could make or break the game. Luckily, this is another area where we can look to Horizon for a bit of reassurance, as Horizon 5 does offer decent support for wider aspect ratios, making the triple screen and ultra-wide experience much more enjoyable than it was in FM7. Alright, now it's time to talk about the one feature that I believe will lead to Motorsport's success or its downfall: online racing. This is the hardest thing to get right, and also the most important. Even serious sims like iRacing are still constantly working on trying to get their online right. This can be broken down into a few different categories, and we'll start with stability. This is an area that Forza has really struggled with lately, both in Motorsport and Horizon. We need to see reliable online connections, without random disconnects and crashes, and without desync between players and car positions. There's not too much to say about this, because I think it's clear that reliable online racing is key, and it's something that Forza has not had a great track record with. Next up, I think we need to see an increase in player count for online lobbies. Motorsport 7 had a max of 24 players, GT7 tops out at only 20, and I'd love to see the new Motorsport hit the 32 or even 36 player mark for more enjoyable endurance and multi-class racing and better open lobbies. With a higher player count, though, comes an increased need for a better penalty system, and this is going to be one of the most important things to get right. GT7 has struggled on this, and suffers because of it. It's not easy, but it needs to be a major focus for Turn 10, or online lobbies are just going to be a nightmare and won't be able to be taken seriously. Hopefully, this comes alongside a good safety rating and ranking system to help sort players into matches with other drivers of a similar skill level. This is all an area that Motorsport could really deliver on. One of the downsides of many more serious racing sims is that they don't often offer good pickup races. You usually have to join a league, wait for scheduled events, or deal with sometimes unpredictable private servers. If Motorsport can deliver a wide range of on-demand, good online racing, it will succeed in my eyes, because I do think there's a gap there that needs to be filled in both the PC and console sim market. Now, the final online element that Motorsport needs to deliver on is a good toolset for custom racing. We've seen privately run competitions sprouting up in droves across the sim racing scene, and even Forza Horizon has been host to a healthy amount of organized private racing. The demand is absolutely there, and Motorsport needs to give the player base tools to let us run these events with ease. This is going to mean delivering things like a fully featured and configurable custom lobby system with custom grids and teams, and good spectator modes that let us watch and livecast or record our races. I'd also love to see a good race replay saving tool, letting us go back to review race incidents or see other POVs. Games like this live or die by their online support, and if Turn 10 wants Motorsport to succeed long into the future, they need to give players the tools to foster a strong online racing community. And this is, to me, so much more important than the campaign or even the physics or the graphics or anything else. If Motorsport can deliver a reliable, fun, and fair online racing experience, it will succeed. Now let's wrap up this video with one more topic that I think will be very interesting to watch unfold over the years after Motorsport's release, and that is post-launch support. This is going to be another area that I think Turn 10 will really need to pick up on. Right now, we know that Motorsport will be releasing with 20 tracks and 500 cars. This is significantly less than its predecessors. Currently, Motorsport 7 has 33 tracks and well over 800 cars. Speaking to the tracks, we do know they've focused a lot on making sure every location is gorgeous and accurate, and I'm sure that these are going to be very fun tracks to race on. But 20 tracks is going to get repetitive, and on launch, there will surely be a lot of fan favorites that aren't in the roster. So I am definitely hoping for a strong post-launch track release schedule to ensure players keep coming back to experience new content. Now, for the cars, I'm a bit skeptical. Initially, with a slimmed down car list, I was thinking, okay, good. They've taken time to rescan and update all the old cars and added a lot of new ones as well. GT7 did this, for example, and has what I think are the most beautifully rendered cars in a video game. And GT7's customization is quite good for a racing sim, with almost every road car getting access to a wide body kit, multiple aero options, and over 75 custom rear wing options, with things like engine swaps and performance upgrades as well. Some parts even degrade in performance over time. It currently does not look like we are getting the same treatment from Motorsport, as the trailer footage they chose to highlight included no new customization, instead showing off the exact same body kits and pretty ugly rear wings we've had in the series for years now. I do expect them to deliver a lot of post-launch cars, and I'm excited to hear that they are adding a lot of more modern vehicles, but I was really hoping to see new life breathed into the same models and customization systems we've seen now for practically a decade. And for now, my hopes aren't very high on that. But of course, time will tell. Dropping the number 8 off the title and calling this new game simply Forza Motorsport does seem to imply that Turn 10 and Xbox are treating this game more as a platform and not just a bi-yearly release anymore. And I believe that they hope to support it for years to come. And that's good, because they are up against some serious giants, and it's going to be hard to pull players away from the now long-established icons of the sim racing scene. Assetto Corsa released in 2014. iRacing has been around even longer. Serious sim racers don't care that much about the bells and whistles and fancy graphics that Motorsport has been showcasing lately. So we need to see a focus on delivering a good handling model that feels great in a sim rig, fully featured online racing modes that promote fair and fun racing and a strong community, and we need to see a steady feed of content and feature updates to keep players coming back and keep the game feeling fresh. If Motorsport can deliver this, they will succeed in today's market. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you think Motorsport needs to succeed in the comments, and let's all wait and see what Turn 10 and Xbox has to show us over these next few weeks.